I've written, hello and welcome to this class, Discovering Buddhism, Module 3, Presenting the Path. My name is John Ballantyne from Australia, as you might have guessed, and due to the wonders of modern technology, will be the Zoom host for our very special teacher, Elaine. Those of you who don't know Elaine, she is one of the early founders of Vajrapani Institute, a student of Tibetan Buddhism since 1977. She studied with many of the greatest Tibetan Buddhist masters of our time, including His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, Lama Thubten Yeshe, Kyabje Zong Rinpoche, Lama Thubten Zopa Rinpoche, and others too numerous to list. She served as Executive Director of Vajrapani Institute for 5.5 years before retiring in 2008. She completed a 3-year retreat in 2010 and is engaged in a month-long solitary retreat every year for the past 14 years to deepen her practice. She's currently a resident teacher at Vajrapani Institute, and we're very fortunate to have her with us today for this class. So big thank you, Elaine, for your time in presenting the path. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That's very sweet, very sweet. Well, I'm happy to be here. And this is the first time, now you made me co-host so I can share my screen. And I will have to confess that this is the first time that I have actually been the one to push the buttons to jump between screens and thises and that's. So we'll all be here together, muddling through it, however it goes. So if you'll bear with me and be patient, that's really delightful. I'm very happy to be able to be here and to share with you this path to enlightenment. And if I'm lucky, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, well, it doesn't help if you haven't started it, does it? Okay. One moment, maybe I'm going to get this settled. Once I get it, then I think we'll be good to go. But in the moment, honestly, I've played around and played around and played around. All right, now maybe. So sorry. Okay, I think I might be there. Am I there? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, well, you can see this little cartoon here, which it reminded me, I was thinking about how to present in my own mind. What I have done over the years is draw whatever I think in order to make myself really understand what it is, to make it sink in. And when I was a child, I used to go with my parents on a 4-hour trip on the highway in the 50s. And there were signs, road signs that were just the size of, maybe 6 inches by 2 feet. And they were road signs that said little quips, 4 road signs. And at the end of it, it said Burma shave. Like one of them said, big mistake, many make, rely on horn instead of brake. And then it said Burma shave. So you'd see one that said big mistake. And then you'd drive on a while and it would say many make. And then rely on horn instead of brake, and then Burma shave. And if you think about that, that was 70 years ago. And I still remembered Burma shave. So that's pretty good advertising. And I thought, okay, well, if I could think of the path to enlightenment in this way of being on the road, and these are the signs that you pass along the road as you become, reach enlightenment. And so this is actually the lamrim, the stages of the path, which is the focus of this retreat, right? The focus here is the Buddhist path to liberation in the Gelug tradition, specifically Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga, his guru path to enlightenment. So he encapsulated that in his teaching called The Three Principal Aspects of the Path, in which he said, principally, we must cultivate a renunciation or definite emergence, this wish to be free. Then we cultivate bodhichitta, which is this wish not to just free ourselves, but to free everyone else. And we cultivate wisdom, the wisdom realizing how reality actually exists. So this is called the lamrim, or the stages of the path. Recently, I received a book from Wisdom Publications. It's 365 days of sharing the graduated path to enlightenment, the lamrim. And the very, very first quote on the very first day, you're supposed to turn the page every day, but I've been staying on the first page. The very first quote, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says that the lamrim is the main road, the direct highway to enlightenment. So I call it the freedom road. And this is the road that we're on to reach this state of enlightenment. And we go through these steps as we go. So I'd like to start with a short meditation. But first, to settle, to think about what is my motivation for being here, to really consider why we engage in spiritual practice at all. So to make a small prayer, today, by virtue of my practice, may I be mindful of my body, speech, and mind in my interaction with others. May I never deliberately harm. May I relate to myself, to others, and to the events around me with kindness, understanding, and without judgment. May I use my days in a way that is true with my deepest values. And then I try to expand my aspiration to include not only my own welfare, but also to engage in these teachings and meditations and practices for the benefit of all people in my life. Thinking beyond my own individual desires and wishes, expanding my heart and mind, opening out to others. And this begins the transformation process that is the very heart of the Tibetan Mahayana Buddhist path. So as we begin, I invite you to find your meditation seat. Buddha said, train your own mind. And in doing so, we develop qualities of peacefulness and clarity, understanding our own lives and learning how to live harmoniously with the world. So we develop a deeper harmony with life. So I invite you to please settle into your meditation seat. Allow your awareness to come to the crown of your head. And then very gently settle into a relaxed state by allowing awareness to float gently down through your body. Noticing your brow and around your eyes. coming to your jaw, the back of your neck, letting your shoulders fall. Your hands rest gently in your lap. And as you gently flow down through your torso, noticing, letting your chest expand, letting your belly be soft. Let it receive the full breath as you come all the way to the ground. Feel the places where your body touches the seat, the cushion. Allow a sense of feeling grounded, stable, a sense of safety. And be in touch with the breath in the body. Let the in-breath bring vigilance and energy. And let the out-breath relax and release. Letting go of any ruminations over the past or any fantasies about the future. And allow yourself to be present here and now in each moment. And as an anchor, we might bring our awareness to the sensation of the breath at the tip of the nose. Knowing when we breathe in and when we breathe out. Noticing when the breath turns. The changes in sensation as the breath flows without force or impedance. Allow the body to breathe and rest there in peaceful ease. Meditation practice is training our mind. Its foundation is posture and focus. We train to cultivate a balance between energy or alertness and relaxation, calmness, peacefulness. We train to find the quality of mind and body in which the elements of relaxation and energy are both maximized and in balance with each other. When we learn to calm the mind and look deeply into its nature, it becomes more alert and more peaceful. The more clearly we see the way things are, the more we recognize that the fundamental nature of mind is both completely awake and completely peaceful simultaneously. So we take this as our working hypothesis, and then we test it. Buddha never said, "Believe this because I said so." He said, "This is how it appears to me. Please test it for yourself." So in the beginning, we start out in a contrived way, trying to achieve this balance. We try to be concentrated and peaceful. But it's important to understand that this is not an unnatural state. This is bringing our body and mind into alignment with their fundamental nature, not to become something we're not. Meditation is not about trying to create something special, to get to a special state. It's more about uncovering what has always been and is always here. So we don't need to take this on faith. By looking and seeing over and over again, we find these qualities of peace and clarity within the heart that underlie everything, that are always present. And by seeing this over and over again, faith in that reality arises on its own. When we pay attention to the moment, this moment, relax and see clearly, there's peacefulness, a purity, a wakefulness, and a kind of bright, radiant quality to the heart. And over time, when our own experience slowly seeps through, finally we begin to see and trust that underneath all the ruminating over the past and all the planning of the future, all the reworking of the plans and the fantasizing, underneath all this is a pure, radiant, peaceful quality. So this is our meditation stance. And as we meditate, we often find the mind is chattering away, proliferating thoughts about this or that, planning for the future, forming opinions, judging, criticizing, commenting on everything. And unconsciously, we may develop a combative attitude, trying to make the mind be quiet. We squeeze the mind, we apply force, and then meditation becomes stressful and not something that we look forward to doing. It's true that we use persistence and strength, but it comes from a place of basic affection, of love and cooperation. This is the mental posture: persistence, strength, love, and cooperation. So as we try to calm the mind, it's so important that we bring the mind to the present and work with the body and mind in a collaborative way. It's not something to force into obedience, Working with the mind is like working with young children or animals, guiding and training them with love. And again, we use persistence and strength, but it's coming from a place of affection, love, and compassion. We offer a quality of kindness, not force. So I really like what Mingyur Rinpoche said. At any moment, we can choose to follow the chain of thoughts and emotions that reinforce a perception of ourselves as limited, or we can remember our own infinite potential. So that's the kind of mind, one of loving kindness and compassion that we apply over and over again, the antidotes to our unruly mind. So we develop this, and no matter how many times we drift away, like, the present moment never gives up on us. Remember, the present moment is our faithful friend. And each time we wake up, we let go, we come back to the present. So as we think about yearning for happiness and freedom from suffering, not only for ourselves, but all living beings, knowing that they share this fundamental wish, not just to satisfy my own needs, but those of others as well. Let us meditate on Guru Yoga with a wish to bring all beings to enlightenment. And we do so by calling our Lama to us. Om, please come, great hero, the teacher of pure words, creation, destruction, self-arisen, the wisdom of emptiness, and that alone. So now we just imagine that our teacher appears before us, the one or ones who have shared the Dharma with us. And we surround ourselves by all the sentient beings that we wish to free, which is each and every one. And we lead them in the practice of refuge. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the mind of enlightenment, to seeing emptiness directly, and to the Arya beings who have. May I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment, with confidence in the knowledge that the nature of my own mind is wisdom, its expression is clarity, and its compassion is all pervasive. May I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. And we make this heartfelt wish. May all beings abide in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings find good reapers and the bliss of liberation. I will help us to have these. Please, Guru Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. This next prayer, the 7 limbs, is an offer of our practice. I prostrate with body, speech, and mind. I make each and every offering. I confess my mistaken karma and rejoice in every virtuous deed. Please, Buddha, stay until samsara ends. Teach Dharma to every sentient being. I dedicate to great enlightenment. And you know, when we receive something as precious as the Dharma, we offer a gift in order to receive that. And so we offer this gift of offering everything in the universe in the form of a mandala. This ground scented with perfume and covered with flowers, adorned by Mount Meru, 4 worlds, sun and moon, I imagine as a Buddha land, and then offer it. May all beings enjoy this pure land. I send this jeweled mandala to you, my precious Guru. And we make this heartfelt request. Oh, magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat above my head. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. And so now we request the blessings of the entire path to enlightenment, which includes all those signs on the highway, on the road to freedom. May I be inspired by Guru devotion, uplifted by the preciousness of this human life, shed the fetters of attachment and aversion through a knowledge of impermanence, be protected by refuge, guided by a knowledge of actions and their results, aim for liberation through renunciation. May I be motivated by bodhichitta, opened by giving, disciplined by ethical behavior, strengthened by patience, enthused by joyous effort, stabilized by concentration, and freed by wisdom. And then we ask our Lama to please grant us the blessings of their holy body, speech, and mind. Oh, magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and stay with me always until I attain enlightenment. So now we imagine our gurus, who has taken the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, whose holy body is made of light and is seated above our crown. We imagine they're very pleased with our request, and they melt into a small sphere of light and begin to descend down through our heart, merging inseparably with our own mind. And this sphere of light, its nature is love. And as we sit with that loving light at our heart, imagine as you inhale that it is energized. And as you exhale, it expands. Let every cell of your body be filled with the loving energy of the universe. From head to toe, this warm light of love fills you up. So brilliant, it creates an aura of light around you, and you know that you are loved. Believe in that. I am loved, and it is my nature to love. So, this Buddhist path to enlightenment is a path to happiness. His Holiness has often said that happiness is our nature. So it doesn't matter whether we're a Buddhist or a Christian or any other religion, or no religion at all. From the moment we're born, every being wants to find happiness, and we don't want suffering. No differences in our culture or our education or our religion affect this. From the very core of our being, we simply want joy and contentment. Excuse me. Unfortunately, so often those feelings are fleeting and hard to find. Lasting happiness can't be found in pursuit of any goal or achievement. It's not fortune or fame. The ultimate source of happiness is within us. It abides only in the mind and heart. It transcends the unexpected, surprising challenges and changes that are part of life. Master Shantideva says, although beings want happiness, they rush headlong into suffering because much of what determines our joy and happiness, we create ourselves. Often, suffering comes from negative habits of mind, emotional reactivity, or from our inability to appreciate and use the resources that do exist within us, but need to be cultivated. Whether we suffer or not from our daily disasters depends on our attitudes, on our perspectives, and the reactions that we bring to situations and relationships. When it comes to personal happiness, there is a lot that we as individuals can do. Buddha advised us to focus on our inner values, our true humanity, to become insiders, inner beings, he called his disciples. But we have to look at a deeper level. Most people pay great attention to happiness coming from the outside and very little to the ultimate source of happiness, which is inside. So we need to educate our inner values. Cultivating joy is what makes human experience satisfying. Cultivating a sense of joy as a way of being, not just a temporary thing, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, said the purpose of life is to find happiness, true happiness, lasting happiness. So the question may arise, is it possible to be joyful even in the face of our daily troubles? The frustration of morning traffic, fears of not being able to provide for our families, anger toward those who have wronged us, grief at the loss of those we love, illness, death. How do we embrace the reality of our life, deny nothing, but transcend the pain and suffering that is inescapable, which is the first truth that Buddha taught, the truth of suffering? So even when our lives are good, how do we live in joy when so many others are suffering? When we see poverty and war, violence in our streets, our churches, our schools, when we see political division, when we hear about ecological disasters endangering life on our planet. These are all worthwhile questions to ponder. Even when living in a loving home, we can see that much of human suffering occurs within our own mind and heart. Because of this, because the ultimate source of happiness is within our own mind, it can be cultivated. How we choose to act each day is what matters. Nothing can rob us of this freedom of response. Buddha offered techniques for cultivating a joyful life. As Desmond Tutu said, we are fragile creatures, and life is filled with challenges and adversity. Discovering more joy does not save us from hardship and heartbreak. And we have hardship without becoming hard. We have heartbreak without being broken. Buddha advised that the antidote lies in cultivating an attitude of thinking about and cherishing others. Uniting our own painful situation to think of others reduces our own suffering. Looking at the broader picture. It's not a denial of pain and suffering, but a shift in perspective from oneself toward others, from anguish to compassion, seeing that others are suffering as well. As we recognize others' sufferings and realize that we're not alone, our pain is diminished. Uniting our situation with others, seeking out connectivity, is the birth of empathy and compassion, which is foundational in the Buddhist path to happiness. When His Holiness spoke about being in exile, he said, there are different aspects to any event. Sometimes a tragedy viewed from a different angle shows opportunity. And he said, wherever you have friends, that's your country. Wherever you receive love, that's your home. And whoever gives you love, that's your parent. Every day is a new opportunity to cultivate the true causes of happiness. The desire for happiness isn't a choice, it's part of our nature. The wish for happiness is the essential motivator in all of our acts. So not only do we wish to be happy, but we wish only to be happy. It's what we do. And His Holiness goes further to say that we have the right to that happiness. So where is it? Buddha said that we have misunderstood and misdefined happiness our whole life. So we're looking in all the wrong places. Webster defines happiness as a state of well-being, contentment. And contentment is ease of mind, satisfaction. So it's not just a pleasurable feeling or emotion or a mood. It's an optimal state of mind. And it arises from an exceptionally healthy mind. It's priceless, and it's worthy of our greatest efforts. So how do we find happiness? This is the foundation of the Buddhist path, which is the cultivation of immutable happiness, contentment, and joy. His Holiness remarked that mental happiness is a genuine sense of love and affection. And if we meditate for 10 to 30 minutes on compassion or kindness for others, it affects our whole day. That's the way to maintain a calm and joyous mind. Kindness and compassion are the foundation of Buddhism, with the ultimate goal to help all sentient beings. We want to help ourselves, and the best possible way to do that is to help others. And really, that's actually the whole story. So when Buddha talked about how to listen to teachings, how to approach it, he said, we have this exceptional opportunity. And if we approach it with an open heart and mind, we can succeed and gain insights into this path to enlightenment. And Buddha offered suggestions on how to approach the teachings. He said, listen well, thoroughly, and remember. Avoid being like the three pots. So you see, the upside down pot, where nothing goes in. We're too distracted or dull or not paying attention. And he said, listen thoroughly. Here he described a dirty or a full pot, that mind is contaminated or full of views that are counterproductive to understanding. There's a story about a Zen master who was serving tea to a new student. And the seeker went to visit this famous Zen master. And as the master was quietly serving the tea, the seeker talked about Zen. He talked about Zen. And the master poured the visitor's cup to the brim. And then he kept pouring. And the seeker kept talking about Zen. And the master kept pouring. And the seeker watched as the overflowing cup kept overflowing until he couldn't restrain himself. And he said, it's overfull. No more will go in. And the master said, you are like this cup. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? So in this way, if we're motivated by some sort of attachment or confusion, or if we're concerned just for the well-being of this life, we could also have a wrong intention, personal gain. So this is our dirty pot. And then Buddha said that by remembering, we will avoid being like the pot with the hole in it, the cracked pot. We hear it, but we don't retain it. It goes in one ear and out the other. Oh yeah, I know all about that one. You hear it, but it doesn't stick, just goes right out. So Buddha said, it's good to cultivate 6 attitudes. He said the dirty pot is the most difficult to overcome, that we already believe we have the answers, and therefore we're not open. And in order to overcome that, it's helpful to think of yourself as a sick person, that our illness is cyclic existence. And we appreciate the Buddha's teachers' kindness and warmth, and we regard them as the kind doctor. The disturbing emotions are the underlying causes of our sickness, how painful anger and grasping and desire are. The teachings are the medicine. Taking the medicine, making an effort to practice is the cure. Holding in your heart the wish for the teachings to remain for a long time keeps the teachings in your life. His Holiness said, then thinking that I want to be free from the suffering of samsara, and I will seek the Buddha's medicine that, when practiced properly, will lead me to good health. But I'm not the only sick person. Countless sentient beings also wander in samsara and suffer from affliction. May I become a skillful and compassionate doctor like the Buddha, so that I can help all other sentient beings be free from the suffering of samsara. So he said we should take the teachings as personal advice, conjoined with healthy skepticism. You see, as he said, don't take what I say just because I say it, but test it. To see it more than just an interesting information, but something to take to heart. We take it as a hypothesis, checking, but thinking it might be true. It sounds far out, but it might be true. So to have an open mind and treat it like gold, checking the validity for yourself. So we wouldn't just buy gold because it has a pretty gold color. No, we would check. So to listen, to review, and to analyze, and then hold in placement meditation allows it to permeate the mind. And this is the method for practicing the stages of the path to enlightenment. And no doubt, there will be doubt. Doubt will come as we study, we question it. So what do? We have to be prepared to challenge our worldview, to look at the various mindsets that are generated here in our own mind by culture, by society, by education, religious background, and environment. So what to do? Doubts will likely surface. Let them surface. Reflect on them. Own them. Discuss them. Challenge them. So doubt is actually a great tool for learning, and it can also be a hindrance. But let your doubts lead you forward to more questioning, discussing them with others, asking others, how is that for you? This is what it looks like for me. How is that for you? So the goal of Buddhist practice is to become a Buddha, to wake up. That's what Buddha means. Buddha is a Sanskrit word from the root bud, which means to wake up, to become conscious or to become aware. It's a title given to anyone who has attained spiritual awakening. The Tibetan word for Buddha is Sangye. In the prayer, the refuge prayer in Tibetan, it's Sangye Chudang Soki Chognam La. So it's the Buddha to the Buddha, Sangye. It means totally purified and totally perfected. Purified or transformed and fully developed or perfected. So awakening refers to waking from an unconscious state, from confusion and ignorance. And it also means awakening to our full potential. So this path to liberation and full awakening is a step-by-step methodology. So when you start to learn a musical instrument, for instance, you sit down to learn to play the piano, maybe, and you struggle to learn the notes, how they sit on the music, and you struggle to practice the right timing. And eventually, with strong concentration, you can actually play through the piece. And then our hands become habituated, and you play without much thought. And finally, you're simply so immersed in the music through habituation. And enlightenment is like that. We cultivate the music of everlasting happiness. Yeah. So Buddhahood is attained by each practitioner making the strong determination to take the next small step, the small necessary step in the journey toward the ultimate goal. So to be totally awake and open, to be totally free from obscurations, to possess all the positive qualities we associate with spiritual enlightenment. Boundless compassion, profound wisdom, infinite spiritual power, energy, or skillful means. I remember reading a definition of the enlightened mind after having said for countless years, wishing to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings, making that wish over and over again, and then actually reading a definition of an enlightened mind. Because somehow when you think enlightenment, when I thought enlightenment, it sort of felt like something so far out there, so like unattainable, that was something magical. So if you think about this definition, the definition in Geshe Loden's book, The Path to Liberation, or The Path to Stages on the Path, I think, he said, an enlightened mind is filled with the greatest, most far-reaching love. It's completely free of ignorant hatred, ignorant attachment, and ignorance itself. It's fused with wisdom and compassion. It's filled with boundless joy, an unstoppable wellspring of happiness, peace, and contentment, with no limitations to creating beneficial circumstances reflecting the joy. So this is the path to enlightenment. It's to cut through the obscurations to love, compassion, joy, peace, contentment, to eliminate ignorant hatred, ignorant desire, and fundamental ignorance itself. To eliminate them and all their derivatives. How do we do that? Well, as Zopa Rinpoche said, the Lama can't toss you up into enlightenment like tossing a pebble. We must do the work. And Buddha said, I have shown you the path to liberation, and whether you discover liberation or not is totally up to you. So I mentioned that Buddha called his disciples insiders, inner beings, looking for spiritual awakening within their own minds. So in our unconscious moments, that's when we stub our toe, or we inadvertently run a red light, or we get angry with a friend, or we otherwise find ourselves inexplainably in trouble. And as we study the nature and function of our own consciousness, we will begin to see clearly how we are living our life sleepwalking, full of doing and busyness, with very little being and stillness, and very little awareness of what is driving the doing. And this is what we learn when we begin to study the mind. And as Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche said, it is mind and mind alone that binds us or sets us free. And the entire path to liberation, the entire path is training the mind to have these qualities of an enlightened mind and to eliminate the qualities of ignorance, hatred, and grasping desire. So how do we do that? It's peeling the layers. Following the path of the Buddha is a process of uncovering, peeling away the layers that reveal the levels of consciousness hidden beneath the surface of our gross day-to-day awareness. Through our spiritual practice, we become aware of the profound, fundamental level of consciousness that underlies all states of mind, all other levels of consciousness, and where the deepest spiritual transformation happens. So the study of Buddhism is the study of the mind. Mind is often thought to be just the brain and its intellectual or cognitive functions. But to understand the Buddhist path, we need to understand the Buddhist view of mind, because in fact, the study of Buddhism is a study of the mind or consciousness. Lama Yeshe used to say, we need to become our own therapist. He called Buddhism psychology of the mind. Buddha was the supreme cognitive therapist, the supreme behavioral therapist. He said that everything we think impacts what we do, and therefore impacts the world. William James, the father of modern psychology, said, that to which we attend in the moment becomes our reality. What we think impacts what we do, and therefore impacts the world. Mind is often thought to be just the brain and its intellectual or cognitive functions. What exactly is the interconnection between the brain, the nervous system, and consciousness? Scientific research is so far inconclusive. While there is an intimate relationship between mind and brain, according to Buddhism, mind is much more profound than just thought. Mind holds the key to our freedom. Yes. Mind. Free the mind. Mind is defined in Mahayana Buddhist literature as that which is luminous and knowing, or mere clarity and awareness. It's the medium through which we are able to know ourselves, others, and the world around us, to know both internal and external things. It all comes down to mind. We engage in Buddhist practice to change our mind. All Buddhist practice is a Lojong, mind training. Dr. Alan Wallace said, Buddha didn't offer any support to the view that we as individuals or as a species are naturally evolving toward liberation from lifetime to lifetime, whether we try or not. The path of Dharma requires conscious, skillful effort. Without Dharma, each individual's continuum of awareness continues without end, moving from one dissatisfaction to the next. So, without changing the mind, it continues its habitual pattern. So we say it's mere clarity and awareness. Clarity in Tibetan, it has the connotation of arising. The mind gives rise to something. Something arises within the mind. So this clarity or luminosity is an inner quality experienced as awareness. Mere means it's nothing else. Nothing else needs to be present or going on in order to have a mind. You see, we're talking about mind because mind is the seed of everything. We have to understand mind in order to train it. So what is mind? It's not physical. It's no shape, no color, no obstructing qualities, not the brain, although it's interrelated, cannot be found in the physical realm. It is useful to question our perceptions. It's useful. So we can take a moment to just think, in this moment, what is it that I see? That I hear? Smell, taste, or touch? What is it that I think? What do I refer to when I say I? When I say tree or table? What actually is it? It's useful to ask these questions and to question our perception. Is it true? Gross physical aspects of our body support the function of the mind. But there's also an extremely subtle, but still physical nervous system of channels through which the subtle energy flows, which supports the mind. The mind is said to ride on this subtle energy. Sometimes it's labeled as the horse and rider. So we're talking about mind and the different layers of mind, gross to subtle to ultimate. The gross mind is our sense consciousness. The nervous system is extremely subtle, but still physical. And these are the channels where the energy flows. This energy is called lung in Tibetan and often translated as wind or air. The mind is said to ride on this subtle energy. And in other words, to move through the channels on the flow of energy. Mind and body, although they're related, are different phenomena arising from different causes. In the book Mind Science, an East-West dialogue, His Holiness the Dalai Lama defines mind as an entity that has the nature of mere experience, that is a clarity and knowing. It is the knowing nature or agency that is called mind. And this is non-material. What is this ultimate nature of mind? His Holiness defines it as essentially pure. It's the pristine nature of mind, technically called clear light. The various afflictive emotions, such as anger, greed, etc., are products of conditioning. Think about that. Master Tilopa said, take the sky, for instance, devoid of any shape or color. Its nature is immutable, unblemished by clouds of black or white. So it is with your own mind. Devoid of any shape or color, it can't ever be blemished by good or bad, black or white. Think about that. When we begin to grasp on to who we think we are, I'm this, I'm that, I'm bad, I did this, and then we solidify it. Mind is like the sky, and nothing can rest on the sky, and neither can anything rest on our clear mind. Each moment of mind is a moment in which a choice can be made. Our direction, our attitude, or our mood can change in that one micro moment, but only if we're aware of what's going on in that moment. In a single snap, karma is created. This stream of consciousness is fluid, impermanent, and free of any inherent or essential characteristics. There's a ceaseless flow of thoughts, emotions, judgments, feelings, and so forth. But the contents passing through the mind are ever changing. Think about it. What comes into your mind? Even you wish to hold on to the juicy bits that are so entertaining. They rarely settle. Sometimes happy, sometimes angry or sad, sometimes calm, compassion, loving. It's only in the present moment that we can affect change. The past is gone, the future hasn't come. So now, just now, in one sense, we can say nothing else exists, only the present moment. The feeling of being overwhelmed arises when we don't stay in the present moment. We fear something that's going to happen in the future, or we're irritated over something that has happened in the past. We continuously, if we look to the past or we try to anticipate the future, emotions arise. We look back with regret or with pleasure. We look forward with anxiety or eagerness, but rarely do we stay in the present moment right now. It's very interesting to watch this, to watch your mind, to see that when you're washing dishes, you're not washing the dishes. Thinking about what you're going to do next, or what you've already done, or some such thing, something that's out there that doesn't have anything to do with washing the dishes, which is one of the reasons why Lama Zopa Rinpoche has these fabulous bodhichitta mindfulness practices. He says, if you're washing the dishes, you are removing all the causes of suffering from every sentient being. So there, you're not only getting the dishes clean, but you're also growing your bodhicitta, your good heart. So when each moment, this is interesting, mind begets mind. So each moment is a discrete instance of consciousness, depending on and arising from the previous moment of consciousness. So if we're nattering away, irritated, and we keep nattering, then there's more nattering. So the cause of each mind moment, each of our thoughts, emotions, projections, and so forth, is the mind moment that went before it. Mind causes mind. The physical body has physical causes. Two human beings come together, sperm and ovum, giving rise to a third human being. Mind, which is mere clarity and awareness, can arise only from a similar non-physical cause, just as form cannot arise from what is formless. What is formless cannot arise from form. This is interesting to contemplate. Yeah. So now, I think maybe it's good if we take one moment to stretch our legs, and then we'll do this meditation. So unpretzel and stand for just a moment. Okay. It's amazing how just a little bit of stretching then gives the body the energy to be able to carry on. Okay, good. So we're going to do a meditation on continuity of consciousness. So throughout this reflection, watch whatever arises carefully, without expectation or judgment. Just stay open to the possibilities. Just looking for the connections and relationships between one mind moment and another, between one sequence of thoughts and another. Don't get involved in the content of your thoughts. This reflection isn't a regression exercise. It's an exploration of how consciousness works from moment to moment. Understanding the process is more important than seeing our birth or past lives. Understanding the relationships and links within the stream of consciousness is the key to understanding karma and the cycle of past and future lives. So important. So as you meditate, stay clear and detached, like a cool scientific observer, neutral, with no expectation, watching the process with no investment in the nature of the content. Just enjoy the process and have fun. This is a voyage of discovery. So we'll begin by doing some breathing exercise. Just attending to the sensation of the breath at the tip of the nose to settle. For about 3 minutes. And now imagine that you're surrounded by all the people of your life. your friends, your enemies, and those you have yet to meet that we might label strangers. So bring them to life in your contemplation. Imagine they're really here in this space with you, doing this meditation with you. And then adjust your motivation, considering your intention for your spiritual practice in general, and for this meditation in particular. Carefully make the determination to use your study and meditation to increase your understanding and insight, and to take the next step on your journey for your own sake, for the sake of all the people in your life, and by extension, to all universal living beings. So turning your awareness to the activity in your mind, the flow of thoughts, emotions, sensations, judgments, projections, expectations, like looking at the stage and the actors are just passing by. Just watch these mental events without any involvement of any kind. No criticism or attraction or rejection. Watch what's going on like a neutral, scientific observer who has no investment in the objects of observation. And after some time, catch one of these mind moments. And from that point, begin to journey backwards in time, from one mental event to the previous one. So we briefly scan, traveling backwards through the last hour. What kind of thoughts were you having? Through the morning, back to breakfast, back to waking, is there a relationship between one moment and the previous one? Or the one before that? Go back to the dreams you might remember. back to the night before, to the thoughts that you had as you went to sleep. Are there connections, relationships between these mental events? Go back through yesterday. The day before. Last week. Last month. Last year. Don't engage with the story that is unfolding. Simply watch without involvement, without judgment. Just looking for connections. Keep going back in your life, watching the mental events of your youth, your childhood, your infancy, perhaps even your birth. What happens then as you go back in the womb, at the moment of conception, before conception, a previous life. Try to see the possibilities. Does the flow cease? Does it continue? Relax and let each mental event arise in its own time and observe the process at work. And when you have gone back as far as possible, gently return to the present. And again, watch the activity of your mind. Observe these arising mental events without involvement of any kind, without criticism, attraction, or rejection, looking for connections. And from this present moment, imagine now your mind stream flowing out before you. One thought, and then the next, into the future. Imagine the process. Just let your imagination go. Watch the possibilities for the future. Your mind flowing out into the rest of the day, into tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and so on until death. Consider the possibilities at that point. Does the flow cease? Does it continue? Does it change? What happens now? What are the possibilities? So now let's take a moment to think about, what does it mean in your life if there is this continuity of consciousness? How does that change? For you. Does the concept of beginningless mind challenge your worldview? What if it's true? How does it alter your behavior? If we look at it from the standpoint of the definition of mind being merely clear and knowing, can we see the changes in our mind in this life through the power of spiritual practice, through the power of our own awakening? How do we define those changes if we have found some? And what is the cause? These are interesting to ponder. Because mind is not fixed. Mind is merely clear and knowing. What causes thoughts to arise in the mind? If one mind moment gives rise to the next mind moment, mind begets mind. Each mind moment has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It arises, it abides for a split second, and it disappears. And it leaves an impression in its wake, an instinct, the beginning of a new or the extension of an existing karmic habit pattern. And in that 1/65th of a finger snap, it gives rise to the next mind moment, and on and on and on. When His Holiness the Dalai Lama was asked about the beginning of consciousness, he said that because Buddha could not see a beginning, he concluded that mind was beginningless. Each mind moment is discrete. So it's almost impossible to have more than one mental event occurring at one time. This is important to remember. If you have a moment of anger, for all practical purposes, you can't have a moment of love at the same time. And this has great implications for our spiritual growth. Lama Yeshe used to say, it's good enough to glue in the moment, the thought of love, good enough, glue that on in the moment, in a moment of anger, just to switch it. To watch when you feel irritated with someone, to see the constriction in your heart, and to realize that it's an unpleasant circumstance. It's not what we want. And because of that, we have a choice. We have a choice to do something different. So if we bring into mind that same person who we see as our object of irritation, that same person has also been kind to us. So if we're able to bring that to mind in the same way, oh, it stops the irritation. Understanding this moment-to-moment continuities is extremely important in terms of our ability to transform the mind. Moving from our present state of dissatisfaction and confusion to the awakened, totally opened, enlightened state of a Buddha. So that is the mental transformation. If we generate and express positive energy, thoughts, and attitudes in our mind and life, we create a mental space in which there's no place whatsoever for negativity to be. Transformation is possible because the continuity of consciousness is impermanent. Nothing is fixed in concrete, nothing whatsoever. And Lama used to say, there's no negative action that cannot be purified, and no karmic pattern of behavior that cannot be transformed. So that's our job, like Jiminy Cricket. Accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. That's what we do. We accentuate the positive in our life and we eliminate the negative in our life. So if we look at it, to recapitulate, our goal is immutable happiness for ourselves and all others, to become Buddhists. The nature of mind is mere clarity and awareness. It's multi-layered, we peel away the layers to get to that clear luminosity. It's not physical, it has no shape or color, and it's beginningless. And through our spiritual practice, we become aware of the fundamental, profound level of mind that underlies all states of mind, all other levels. And this fundamental level is where the deepest spiritual transformation happens. So as we meditate, so important to grow our concentration, to stay on our object of concentration and engage in these practices of meditation, the three kinds of meditation. So there is review meditation, there's analytical meditation, and there's placement meditation. So you review the topic and you analyze it. You analyze it. Is it true? Why do I think it's true? Is it true? You debate it. You put the topic front and center and you debate with it. And when you come to some conclusion, you hold it. You have placement meditation, single pointed concentration on that. So when we think single pointed concentration on the continuity of consciousness, hold it. Oh, mind is beginningless. When you have some sense of it, stay and let the mind be marinated in that. So next time we'll jump in. We'll jump into these three principal aspects of the path, understanding how our mind works, and we will dedicate for now. I'm going to try to find, I have a very favorite dedication prayer, Master Shantideva's meditation prayer, which I'm going to share with you. And I will actually give you these slides for the practice so that if you like, you can do this Guru Yoga practice, which also has the dedication in it. So let me see if I can do some magic, fumble around with the magic buttons. Let's see if I can find that. I think maybe after 5 weeks, I'll be able to go more quickly, right into it. Okay, so we'll start with just your standard dedication prayer. I have to share. Is it there? Alina, do you have the dedication prayer?
Yeah, it just needs to be full screen.
Full screen. The question is, how do I get it to be full screen?
On the green dot and
Oh, is it there?
no, just made the
Maybe slideshow.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yes, of course. Yeah, that's going to be it as soon as I get to it. Here.
Play home card, come on, slide.
There it is. All right, please join me if you like, and we'll dedicate this merit from this time together today. By merit of this virtue, may I become Buddha and lead all beings, everyone, into that enlightened state. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow, and may that born not decline, but increase more and more. And then this is Master Shantideva's beautiful prayer. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, find an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms, the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, there too may I remain, to dispel the misery of the world. So please also, let's dedicate to the long life of all of our spiritual masters. And to those in our life who are unwell, may they be healed. And those who've passed away, may they have fortunate rebirths. And as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it's in his 86th year, we pray for his long, 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 long and healthy life. May he continue to turn the wheel of Dharma, and life after life, may we never be separated. Great. Thank you so much. If you have a question, you're welcome, or we'll call it a day and John can go take his wife to dinner. After 47 years of marriage. Yeah. Does anybody have anything they want to say? Questions or comments?
Elaine,
Yes,
just
dear.
here in the dark.
Yes.
You had mentioned the book by Geshe Loden,
Uh-huh.
a lamrim. Could
Yes.
you?
Yeah. I think it's called Steps on the Path to Enlightenment. It's Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden. Acharya Geshe Thubten Loden. Sometimes it's hard to find. He had there are two books. One's a full book, and the other one was Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. I really like his style because it's relevant to today. When he talks about, he was talking about samsara. Well, how did he call it? He said, it doesn't matter whether you live in a peaceful forest setting or in a high-rise apartment in a big city. As long as you're under the control of karma and delusion, your address is samsara. I thought that was terrific. Anyway, I think, there are so many books on the lamrim, many, many beautiful lamrim texts, many of them. Back in the day, in the 70s, you couldn't find translations of the Tibetan texts, so it was very rare. But now we're fortunate to have so many that are really good. So maybe you can tap into some others that you might like, and just by looking at, I don't know, sometimes I know if you go on the internet, you can click on the book and have a look through without being making a purchase. I'm not sure exactly how you do that, but I think it's true. I do recommend that you have a lamrim text, Lama Tsongkhapa's lamrim. The Three Principal Aspects of the Path by Geshe Sonam Rinchen. It's a very thin little book, also very tasty. Ruth Sonam, they're not related, but she's been his translator, and she does a beautiful job. The English is stunning. So I think that's another really good one. And Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patro Rinpoche, that's another really good one. So many possibilities. I'm going to put together the slides and get them out so that you can have them, but also the prayers, the slides of the prayers, and I'll make a list and send them, put them wherever magic goes that can be retrieved. Somewhere in the cloud, somewhere in the cloud. It goes all the way up there, and bounces off the satellite and then comes right back down here. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, good. Anything else? All right, my friends. See you again soon on the moon, as Lama used to say. Okay, be well. Take good care. And if you can practice your meditation, if you do that continuity of consciousness meditation, if you can do a short one every day to really kind of solidify, oh, what is the nature of my mind and how does it work? And if it goes back, what happens if I go back? Can you imagine what would be the life before? When I go back, I often see myself as an old man carrying a briefcase. I don't know why. But anyway, go back in his life and, his earlier life and life and life and life, and then go back and see what are the possibilities of this consciousness, this continuity, what kinds of, and then how did it get here? And then based on where I am, what is the state of my mind now? Based on that, what is the potential here that awaits me? Like thinking like that. I think it's very interesting. So a little bit of that gives you a sense of how the transformation can occur within the mind, purifying the mind, how it's possible that you can purify the mind, how it's possible. Okay, very good. Thank you all so very, very much. Appreciate you. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you.